Okay.
Okay.
Can I get? I am setting us up for live.
Oh, okay.
1 second.
Have a
You can
pen.
start playing.
The video?
Yeah, you can start playing the video.
Hey guys, my name is Sham and I'm from the Indiegogo team.
Everyone, Enzo here from Indiegogo.
Everyone, I'm Stephanie from Indiegogo.
Okay,
Hi,
we're
I'm
live.
Stacey from
We're live.
Indiegogo. This is Iman from Indiegogo.
Hero Band Pocket Drum 2.
The next
Hey everyone, welcome to our entrepreneur educational webinar, Rethink Pre-Launch Community Building Series. We are happy to have all of you guys joining us today. I think we're going to wait just a couple more seconds to let a few more people trickle in here, but we're going to be getting started pretty soon. And we have an agenda-packed day today with quite a few different interesting slides. Again, this is going to be our Rethink Pre-Launch Community Building Series. I'm really excited to chat with you all today. It's going to be me and my colleague Amy.
"2020 brought a lot of grief and strife, and through it all, Indiegogo backers have remained hopeful and caring, coming together to fund the ideas they believe in and make them a reality. Every day on Indiegogo, backers show their support for ideas that will make the world cleaner, brighter, more diverse, and more creative.
Hey everyone, welcome to our entrepreneur educational webinar, Rethink Pre-Launch Strategy, Pre-Launch Community Building Series. We're happy to have all of you guys be joining us today. We're going to be getting started in just a moment here. All right, fantastic. Cool. All right, Amy, would you mind sliding over to the next slide? Perfect. Yeah, like I mentioned, everyone, happy to have all of you guys with us today. This is our Rethink Pre-Launch Community Building Series. Again, my name is Sham, and your other host today is going to be Amy. We're really happy to have all of you guys joining us. Just to give you some background about us, I'm the Hardware Outreach Manager in Indiegogo. And of course, over here, we have Amy Chu. She is our campaign strategist. She's one of our experts who's going to be diving into the pre-launch community building topic. Amy's provided consultation to many of our top campaigners. The total funds under her management is, I think, over $35 million, which is insane. She's excited to share her insider knowledge with all of you today. During the session, you're all welcome to leave your comment using the Zoom Q&A feature, or if you're streaming the webinar on LinkedIn Live, you can leave a comment under the LinkedIn comment section. Our marketing team is going to be going through the comments throughout the entire session, and we'll try our best to answer them at the end of the session. Of course, if we do have any time, but of course, you are welcome to drop a comment on the LinkedIn Live post, or just share your feedback for us to improve our future sessions. So without further ado, I will let Amy take the floor. Perfect. Awesome. Actually, I'll be taking the floor for this one. So during the pre-launch marketing is expensive as we approach this holiday season. It's time to spend your budget wisely. In today's November webinar, we're going to be discussing how to strategically build your pre-launch email list on a budget and invest your marketing dollars in the right customers who are actually going to be backing your campaign. Before your product launches on Indiegogo, of course. By attending this webinar, we're going to be covering 4 main topics. First, we're going to start off with learning the concept of why you should build a pre-launch community. Then we're going to dive into sharing specific strategies and tactics to run on a Facebook ad campaign. Next, the impact of iOS 14 and how that's going to be impacting your advertising strategy. Lastly, it's going to be how to continue running successful ad campaigns and reusing Indiegogo's conversion API for your pre-launch marketing efforts. Cool. So you might be wondering why Indiegogo? So Indiegogo is where groundbreaking technology is launched and discovered. We now have over 20 million unique monthly visitors and backers from over 237 countries. We're the platform where innovation and new products take flight before they hit the mainstream market. But the technology on the platform is just as exciting as the tech that keeps the Indiegogo platform running. With our proprietary tools like our open comments, Facebook Pixel, and secret perks, running a successful campaign with us is less dictated by luck, but rather a process that anyone can replicate. Cool. So like I mentioned, Amy's going to be taking it from here to kind of deep dive into what makes a strong pre-launch email list from the beginning.
Yeah, so thank you, Sean, for the warm intro. Hello, everyone. It could be good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Amy. It's my pleasure to email you today. Thank you for being here, especially before the Thanksgiving holidays, if you're based in the US. So this is our second pre-launch community building series. As a campaign strategist here at Indiegogo, I cannot emphasize enough about the importance of building an email list as part of your campaign strategy. We call this a soft launch strategy. So this is a strategy by sharing your campaign with a small group of people who are already very interested in backing your campaign before announcing it to the public world. And this is a great way to gain the initial funding momentum before your campaign reaches a wider audience. So in case digital marketing is something new to you, here I want to show you a quick overview of the user funnel that you can envision your prospective customers going throughout the pre-launch phase before they become a customer of yours. Starting with advertising, you bring the campaign and the brand to your target audience to increase their awareness. Then you further drive them down to sign up on a landing page in order to collect their contact information. And we call this a lead generation campaign. Once you validate your user persona and marketing strategy during the test phase, you will be able to scale your lead generation based on the learning during this period, and then continue to grow and nurture your email list for your product launch on Indiegogo. And today, as we previously shared the agenda with you, we'll be focusing on the email marketing campaign and then all the way down how to funnel the user down to be able to make a reservation and then ready for your campaign launch. So then here's the question. You might wonder, okay, I get it that I need an email list to bring together a group of enthusiasts or potentially, my family and friends to help support my campaign. What's a good list size in order for me and my campaign to succeed? This question would come back to your strategic planning for your campaign. What's the goal that you want to achieve with this campaign? To be more specifically, when you look at the funding bar on every campaign page on Indiegogo, you will see there's an external goal under the funding bar. And then there's also another goal that's listed, on top of the funding bar. And for the external goal, this is visible to the public. On the other hand, your actual funding goal would be something that you aspire to achieve, and that's the number that you want to put up on the top of the funding bar at the end of the campaign. Now let's look at the external goal first. As we mentioned earlier about the soft launch strategy, when you first launch the campaign, when building an email list, you should have a target that this email list will allow you to secure 30% of your funding goal during the first 3 days. And why 30%? This is because based on our platform data, we have noticed that campaigns have an easier time converting new backers after reaching 30% of their funding goal, as they already have the benefit of the social validation from the crowd. And by doing this, people who don't know your campaign or you personally will see your campaign already has a strong base of funding and social proof, and they will be more likely and comfortable to make the contribution. And on the other hand, I would also recommend that you as a campaigner start planning out your campaign goals by figuring out what's the minimum quantity that your manufacturer will be able to mass produce the product. If you're working on, let's say, a tangible product such as like a toy, and you will want to use this as the target for you to build an email list. Then what about the internal goal, your dream goal? It's that simple that, you divide your external goal by 30% and voila, you got the internal goal that you could start with. And of course, in reality, your internal goal is not just dependent on the production quantity. The goal that you aspire to hit would also need to factor in all the marketing channels you would be able to utilize to boost the campaign's fundraising progress. So these could be your pre-launch community that we have been talking about, the live campaign, advertising, the Indiegogo audience that you can potentially reach through our Indiegogo promotion resources, and any affiliates or influencers that you work with. And lastly, organic PR or social mentions of your product and company would also help you reach that internal goal. Okay, so now let's do some math to give you more clarity on the external and internal goals that we just talked about. Let's say you are working on a water pillow campaign, and according to the quotes that you receive from your manufacturer, the minimal production quantity is 100. So this should be your external goal as you want to deliver the campaign for sure. And as I said earlier, with the 30% rule, you can start with your internal goal by dividing 100 by 30%. And then we got 333 units here, roughly. Next, we need to factor in the email list conversion rate based on our platform data. We typically see an average list conversion rate from 1% to 5%. So let's now divide 333 by 1% and 5%. And this gives us the subscribers numbers that we should collect in both the conservative and optimistic scenarios. Lastly, it's time to talk about the money that you need to invest in the campaign. Using Facebook and Instagram advertising as the app benchmark, we would like to see that the cost per lead in the range between $2.5 and $5 post iOS privacy update. If you are unfamiliar with this topic, we actually have a webinar on this topic, and you can, feel free to watch it on demand in your free time. So based on these two scenarios, we multiply the subscribers by the cost per lead, and we got the budget range that you need to invest in a pre-launch lead generation campaign. Okay, so here's two scenarios that I just mentioned earlier. So now you're probably wondering, wow, so what if I do not have those money to start with? It's not going to be the end of your dream. When you are on a budget, there are more than one way to build a solid pre-launch email list. In today's webinar, I won't go into details of the other methods much. So coming up, I will be sharing 5 crucial things that you need to know to increase the prospective customers' engagement rate through email marketing, and how to strategically put in your marketing strategy and the most engaged customer segment. So here, we'll start with the email marketing's engagement rate. First of all, let's talk about the technical side of email marketing. Get your email domain verified when you plan on starting your email outreach. When verify your email domain, why it is important? Because your email subscribers needs to verify that you are using a valid from email address hosted on a domain that you can actually access. And this helps your campaign to be out of the spam folders of the users and protects your reputations by ensuring others can use your domain without permission. And so if you don't have a domain name, there are various of hosting platforms from which you can purchase a domain name. But keep in mind that like free email providers are not usable in most of the email service providers, such as MailChimp. If you want to create a subdomain under the main domain name for this campaign use, the subdomain should also be verified separately from your domain. And then second, craft your email marketing campaign strategy. As a rule of thumb, you want to treat your email communications as if you're speaking to your prospective customers directly. So make your email sound like you're talking to them and it's personal. For example, you can add a first name attribute to the email subject line that you send to them. And this will make it sound like this is an email designed more specifically for that person. And next, segmentation. This is about speaking to different customer groups based on their characteristics. For example, that the message that you would send to the most engaged customer should be more exclusive and give them the rewards of staying engaged with you throughout responding to your emails. Next, monitoring. Email marketing is a learning process for you to get to know your customers more. What type of messaging they react more strongly to, and what's the best time or day to send out your communications are all throughout the learning process. And all of these are part of your monitoring efforts as you get to familiar with your audience. And to allow you to plan things out more effectively, I would also recommend plotting out a user flow for you to think through what you want your customers to experience throughout the pre-launch journey. Like this example on the right, but it does not need to be that polished. The idea of it is to identify that the key touch points and craft your email marketing accordingly. Third, utilize your automation features in your email service provider to do your email outreach more timely and free yourself up for the other important campaign preparation task. Consider having multiple touch points as part of your automated email flow. So this could be, a welcome email to give an introduction of the product or the brand, an invitation to join a private group, or just a routine survey that you want to send out to a subscriber once they join your mailing list 1 week later. All of these touch points boil down to two main objectives. One, increase the familiarity of the users with your product, will help them to become more excited to make contribution to your campaign. So you're building that hype. And second, you're also ensuring that your campaign is stay on top of mind even before you actually launch it on Indiegogo, which helps people think more positively about you. Fourth, conduct A/B testing. So what is A/B testing? If you are unfamiliar with this term, in simple words, A/B testing is known as split test. It allows you to compare two versions of something and learn from the result which variant is more effective. And for example, do your subscribers like version A more or version B? The concept is pretty similar to the scientific method. If you want to find out what happens when you change one variable, you have to create a situation where only one variable changes. So here I'm listing out some of the variables that you could potentially test within your email campaign. For me, I would recommend starting with the subject line, call to action, to make the experiment and learnings more impactful for your ongoing improvement efforts. Last but not least, give people an option to opt out when they want. Spam can usually lead to very negative impacts on your email campaigns and for your subscribers. This also hurts your domain authority. It's important that your emails comply with applicable laws. So as you launch at Indiegogo, two privacy law requirements that you should be aware of is US privacy law and the General Data Protection Regulation, aka GDPR, established by the European Union. When going globally, you should also be vigilant about any additional local market privacy regulations as you are reaching those local customers. Here's an example of what a legit email footer should look like to stay in compliance. So notice that there are two key elements. An unsubscribe link must be in every email campaign you send. Another thing is that you must include your contact information in every promotional email you send, including a physical mailing address or PO box where you can receive the mail. So we've just talked about all the email marketing best practices. Now you ask, so how can I ensure all the email leads that I'm collecting so far are going to convert with all my marketing efforts? Then introducing the reservation funnel. What is a reservation funnel? It means that as a campaign owner, you're collecting a small amount of deposit from your prospective customers to understand their backing intentions. This is also a great way for you to distinguish your VIPs from the others based on their deposit behavior, so that you can design different marketing messaging to maximize the possibility to funnel your email leads down and turn them into your backers. Let me show you an example of how this works. This is a campaigner who launched on Indiegogo earlier this year. On the landing page, you could see that there's a clear sign up field where you could put in your email address. And that's the pink square here. And then after that, the users would be taken to this thank you page that entails a reserve my one life X code to action. And this further takes them to the next page, which is the deposit payment page. As a user, you could choose to complete your reservation with a designated amount of money. You could also do this through an email campaign to follow up with your email subscribers who opt into the list but did not choose to complete the reservation on the thank you page. You could provide more solid reasoning in the email body to make people believe that your campaign is trustworthy, believable, and they could feel more confident to put down their deposit. On a tactical level, how much deposit you want to collect will really depending on your product price point. So I typically would say a range between $1 to $100 is reasonable, and also what we commonly see that our campaigners are doing. But we always want to start small from $1 to see if there's a strong enough cost per reservation performance before leveling it up to a higher deposit amount. Keep in mind that if you increase the price of the deposit, it's only natural that your cost per reservation will increase as well. So here I listed out, different price point and what would be the realistic deposit amount that you can collect from your prospective customers as a reference. The ultimate goal in an ideal scenario, we would want that the deposit amount to go cash positive for our lead generation campaign by just collecting the reservation deposit. The power of this is that you would be able to reinvest the deposit in your lead generation ad campaign. So overall, less money is coming out of your pocket. So let me give you an example of this. The new commuter scooter that launched on Indiegogo implemented this $1 reservation funnel. And the results, they got over 2,000 customers putting down the deposit. And what's more, when measuring the conversion rate of this group of customers, 20% of them actually backed the campaign when it launched, and the rest, only 0.3% of them convert into a backer. So with this VIP group who made a small deposit, the new campaign actually raised around $200K from this segment on the launch day, which is an amazing result. Another good example is Zion CyberX. This campaign tried out multiple deposit amounts from $1 to $100. As you see in the number below, they were able to generate 84K revenue with the reservation funnel, which reduced the overall out-of-pocket ad spend upfront during pre-launch. Specifically for those VVIP that put down $100 deposit, the result is that 33% of them convert into a backer, which speaks to the power of the engaged customers. At the end, this campaign actually raised over 100K on Indiegogo. So you might have noticed that, not everyone who made a deposit actually convert, and that is correct. So deposit should be refundable, and make sure you point that out on the landing page and the payment confirmation page so that everything is transparent and make your customers happy. With all that being said, now that you should have a solid understanding of how impactful a reservation funnel is to your pre-launch lead generation campaign. To summarize, the funnel will allow you to refine your audience targeting strategy. It is a signal of how likely your prospective customer would back your campaign. When the reservation conversion rate is low, you probably know that there's something wrong with your product messaging because the audience that you targeted are uncertain about backing the campaign by putting down a small amount of deposit. Second, the reservation funnel allows you to optimize your ad campaign by using this customer list to identify other opportunities that are more likely to be a backer. And this will allow you to diversify your ad targeting strategy on Facebook or Instagram or even other advertising channels. And last but not least, don't forget that your job is not done yet when people made a deposit. Continue to nurture your leads based on their interest level and devise the right marketing communications that will funnel them down and convince them to back your campaign. And that's the end of my presentation. And now back to Sean.
Thanks, Amy. That was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, really happy how well you just described how people should be launching their pre-launch strategy. If anybody has any questions, we are more than happy to start answering them right now. So feel free to go into the Q&A little section at the bottom of the Zoom link, the Zoom area. Feel free to type in some questions there. And just to start off, Amy, we already got one really good question from one of our attendees. They asked, so 1 or 5%, right? There's a really big difference when it comes to email conversion rates. So they want us to dive into determining what that kind of percentage conversion rate should be, right? So should we look at expensive products converting at 5% or cheap products converting at 1% or vice versa? Do you have any opinions about that?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. Yes, the range could vary based on the product type, but I would say ultimately it's depending on how much effort that you put in to nurture your leads, and also what's the source of your email list. Let's say if you choose to buy the email list from other services out of the world, that list quality is out of control and you are not able to make sure that it's going to convert as high as you want it to be. So that would be an example of a lower conversion rate. If you actually run the ad lead gen campaign and then collect quality leads and continue to nurture them through your email campaigns or other community efforts, you're likely to see that this list would have a higher conversion rate at 5% or even more.
Yeah, that's totally fantastic, Amy. Just to echo what you just mentioned, what I typically also say to some of my campaigners is that, at around the $150 mark, that's typically what we see, a 5% conversion rate being, right? So $150 product. And then typically for something like an e-bike, it's going to start decreasing down to maybe like 1 or 2%. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the price point would also, factor in the overall conversion rate. So yeah, keep in mind that, when a product is priced pretty high, people would need more time to evaluate the campaign, your background to see if you're trustworthy. So the conversion rate would also be impacted by that.
Fantastic. Awesome. So we got another question over here. They're asking, what's the delay? What's the waiting period that they as a campaigner should wait to receive their deposits? So what I think they mean is, how long should they expect to wait until they receive the funds that they've raised during their campaign?
To wait in terms of evaluating the result of the deposit, I would assume.
Yeah, so I think what they mean is that how long they should wait to expect to see their funds in their bank account.
Oh, I see. I would say In terms of the deposit, so when you are collecting deposit, the ongoing effort would be, you should look at it at a weekly basis. And so if you want to receive the funds in your bank account, it's likely to, depending on the payment processor that you are using. And for us, a lot of campaigners are using Stripe as a solution.
And actually, there was a clarification on that question. So appreciate you diving into that. So they're actually asking what's the waiting period for them as a campaigner to receive their deposits to use for their ad campaign.
Oh, got it. So for that specific question, I would say right now I don't have a answer on top of my head, but we are happy to look into that, and we can share that in our follow-up email with the audience.
Cool, awesome, Amy. All right, looks like we got a couple more questions over here. So how do VIPs convert? What's the percentage in $1 reservations? Would you happen to know?
So as a benchmark, we would love to target 30% of it if possible. But keep in mind that it really depends on your product price range. So 30% would be the target. But if you are, for example, selling $2,000 of scooter, then that's probably not the same case.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue into the next question. They're then asking what the conversion rate would be for $100 deposit. Do you think there's really a big difference there, or do you think it would still tend to be around that 30% conversion rate?
Yeah, 20 to 30 would be ideal, the scenario that we want to aim for. So yeah, so I would still use that as the benchmark.
Oh, fantastic, Amy. Thanks for answering that. Again, if anybody has any questions, we are more than happy to answer them. Again, there's the Q&A section right at the bottom of the screen that you're looking at right now. Go ahead and type that up. We're, again, more than happy to dive into any of the questions that any of you have right now.
Yeah, so Sean, while we are waiting for the questions to come in, we've also collected a few, commonly asked questions from our campaigners about how they can, approach email marketing and reservation funnels. So maybe we can go to these questions first for the time.
Yeah, sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, so the first question would be, how many email campaigns do I need during pre-launch? As a rule of thumb, you could plan to send out 4 emails, assuming that you have 1 to 2 months of pre-launch campaign. So for example, you can have a welcome email when your subscribers join the list. Then the next one could be 1 week out. You build the anticipation of what's coming, and then the next one would be 1 day out. You can share the exact date and time of the campaign launch. Lastly would be the launch date. You ask people who sign up to back the campaign as soon as possible to get the traffic you need to the campaign page. So these are some key touch points that you can consider. And then the next question that we commonly get is, so which email service should I use for my campaign preparation to do my email marketing? So there are various email service providers online, but just to name a few, for example, like MailChimp is one of the most commonly used and affordable option for small businesses and in the crowdfunding space. They have a forever free plan for those who want to start small. Another option would be Constant Contact. Sanding Blue is another one, and Drip. So if you do not know, which one is the best option for you, I would recommend comparing the plans based on your budget and also the subscribers that you want to collect for the campaign preparation. And then another question is, how do I examine the effectiveness of my reservation funnel? So as we previously covered slightly, start with balancing two things. One is price point, and another thing is the performance. When doing this experiment of the reservation funnel, you need to see a strong enough cost per reservation performance metric on the $1. And then that suggests that your audience targeting is effective with a backing intention. And that would make sense for you to try it out a higher reservation deposit. If you increase the price of the deposit, and it's very natural that the overall cost per reservation will increase as well. And the conversion rate might also be impacted because of that deposit amount increase. So hopefully that could also answer some of the questions that you might encounter further down the road.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that, Amy. Looks like we got a couple more questions here. This one over here states, what is the maximum allowable period between running the campaign and delivering the product to the buyers who converted? It seems like they have a complex product to produce after they receive funding to work with.
Sean, do you want to start with your answer?
Yeah, totally. So pretty much, between the time that you run your campaign to the end of the campaign to deliver your product, we typically recommend allocating about 6 months in order to actually produce the units for your backers. If you aren't able to produce the units within that 6-month time frame, we of course recommend being as honest as possible and letting your backers know exactly how long you expect it to take upfront. I do believe that I would expect conversions to decrease if you do have a fulfillment date beyond 6 months, but of course it's always much better to be transparent and provide what your expectations are going to be upfront, rather than saying that you may have a 4-month fulfillment time period and you end up extending by another 4 months beyond that period, going up to 8 months. At that point, your backers may start to get a little worried and they may not really be very happy about the experience. But of course, if you are being completely transparent and honest, and you did really expect to fulfill those products within 4 months and you go beyond, and you're of course providing transparent and honest communication with them and providing as much information and background, behind the scenes information and pictures, and you're including all of that in your updates, that's fantastic. That's totally fine. But of course, it's always best to be transparent and honest about what your expectations for the future are going to be. Perfect. All right. Let's see over here. It looks like one of the other questions was already answered in the chat, so that's great. It looks like we don't have any more questions. All right, fantastic. Yeah, it looks like we're all good to move on. All right, fantastic. So everyone keep in mind, we're going to be hosting another webinar mid-December about influencer marketing. So don't forget to make sure you keep on following us on LinkedIn, and make sure you're also following us on all our social pages for future updates. Also, we already have the link for our entrepreneurship landing page contact form in the chat right there. So everyone feel free to go and bookmark that page. There's a lot of great information on that page. And of course, if you do have any additional feedback about the webinar that we hosted today, or if you'd like to see anything else in the future, feel free to reach out to us via our social media pages, and we're going to be more than happy to take all that feedback into account. But yeah, appreciate everyone's time today and joining Amy and I on this this webinar journey with you all.
Yeah, thank you all for joining, and hope to see you again in December.
What if there were smarter, better ways to work out? What if you could convert your workout into clean energy?